Hey, this is Gabe and Sharon coming at you from the collapse of Western civilization. And we don't usually do these driving and talking videos that seem to be pretty popular on YouTube, but we have to today because of extenuating circumstances.
Well, I'm the one who's driving. You're the one who's talking.
I know, but people always make these kind of videos on iPhones in the car. And this is not an iPhone.
I do have to concentrate. This is a pretty brutal stretch of Interstate 5. So.
It is. Okay, well, you can concentrate on driving, and let's just talk about what's gold at right now and what's silver at. Let's start with that one, because a good indicator of the collapse of our civilization is the collapse of our currency.
Well, when we left the house this afternoon, gold was at 1979.58. So
that's a record.
That is a record, flirting with 2,000 an ounce, and silver was around 24.50, 24.60, something like that. I don't recall which, but the point is very high. But you also have to remember that gold and silver aren't really changing. It's the value of the dollar that's changing. In other words, it's getting more worthless. So gold it appears to be going up, but it's actually maintaining its value. People are going to have to start ditching the dollar sooner or later, because it's going to be like Germany in the late 20s or early 30s, where currency just isn't going to be worth anything anymore. You're going to have people wheeling wheelbarrows full of dollars to buy a loaf of bread, which is going to have glyphosate in it. So that's the point.
Hopefully not anymore, because, you know, here I am again. With the collapse of Western civilization also comes the end of all of that stuff. So while there's definitely a big downside to having to overhaul everything, the upside is that we will eliminate a lot of parasitic influence. And one of the major reasons that we are doing this driving while talking video today is we actually have to go down into town and get food, because we're running out of food, and where we live there isn't much. It's a food desert. So we're going down into LA County. We're in LA County right now, which is like the belly of the beast. And actually, I think California is worse than other places, because I'm getting emails from people all around the country, all around the world, and I think that the spirits are much, much higher in other places than California. So I'm really feeling the heavy energy here. It's become a complete dictatorship. And you can say that you're not a part of it, but they'll look at you and think you are, just because you're human. And the parasites literally think they own every human. So we've had nothing but trouble with them lately, attacking us constantly as we make a move into our new life. And we're getting off the matrix. That is what we're working on right now. We've got a barter for living situation. That's what we're talking about. It's time for that kind of change to be made. And of course, to get out of the cities and back onto the land. Anyway, I'm going back to Gabe.
And also boycotting these large corporations, because we're really seeing what's happening now, that we've allowed our reliance on them to get so far out of control, because the companies themselves are out of control. They're not going to lay off and give people a break. It's only going to get more and more oppressive as time goes on. So it's naive at this point to think that you can fix the current system, that you can make it better. It just doesn't work that way. It will never work that way. We have to abandon it. Abandon her. Let's go. That's directly from the Bible. We have to
talking about Babylon specifically, which this is.
Yes, we have to abandon these corporations and let them all fall. We have to stop feeding into it, and it will die. And if our hearts and our minds and our souls are in the right place, everything will just kind of fall into place by default. People think that if the current system falls apart, that it's going to be chaos. It's chaos now.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, get real.
Yeah. So part of what we have to do now, and this is a really hard part, it's very hard for me too, is we have to really detach from the AI, because we've talked about this before. The war going on right now, there is a war going on. I wrote about it in my book, and this book came out right as the lockdown. It was like the book came out, and then 1 week later there was a lockdown. It was like instantaneous. The book talks all about the war we're currently in. However, when it was written, it hadn't reached a head like it has right now. So it was sort of like the precursor years to what is happening today is what I was talking about in the book. Anyway, I realized we had this major PayPal debacle the other day. We just resolved it yesterday, and PayPal pretty much, they shut down my account. And my account is a business account that I use to generate revenue so we can do our work with Orgone Energy. And that's how people buy Orgonite from us. And that's also how people make donations to us. So the other day, PayPal withheld some money, and they said they're not going to release it because they believe there was something suspicious about the transaction, which was just someone buying Orgonite, which is a pretty normal thing. Although I know they don't like Orgonite. And by the way, their PayPal office has been gifted, because we gifted Silicon Valley and we drove by PayPal and we tossed. So they're gifted.
Had to.
Yeah.
You're in San Jose, you're gifting. What's the logical thing to do? Gift PayPal's office.
And Google. We did them all. So yeah, they were pretty upset. That happened right before they had the big meeting on starting the COVID hoax, which is, you know, either a bioweapon or just the flu. It's one or the other. Either they did it on purpose or they're just using the flu as an excuse to lock down on everyone.
The pandemic is what's a hoax, because if it were an actual pandemic, you would occasionally see sick people when you do it. But if you go out, you don't see any sick people. You don't. Just because they're writing COVID on a death certificate doesn't mean that they have it.
Everyone who goes to the hospital.
You don't have a lab. You can't test it yourself and see if it's true or not. Then people are just believing it. You drive by a hospital like we're about to do in 20 or so minutes, the parking lot's going to be like a quarter full. Think about it. Things are not adding up.
Or 3/4 empty, depending on whether you're a pessimist or an optimist.
I forgot about that.
So I just wanted to...
Thank you for philosophizing first.
I wanted to just mention what happened with PayPal, just to let you know, e-commerce is a dying animal. PayPal is evil. It was a normal sale. Someone bought some Orgonite from us, and they withheld the money, saying that there was something, they believed there was something suspicious about the transaction. So I called them and I complained and told them what they were doing was illegal, and then I got off the phone and they shut down my account completely. So that's what happens. And then it was a rigmarole getting it set back up again. What happened was, in my naivety, which I do sometimes, I'm usually pretty nondescript about the assumed name certificate, I told the representative on the phone I didn't have a last name. Now, I wanted to just mention this because I too still make mistakes with this thing, and that is correct, I don't have a last name, but by saying that, she thought that I was not authorized to discuss the business account, and so she shut me down. I'm sure that's what happened. So just be careful when you talk to people on the phone and you've registered that name and it's not you. Just, if they say, what's your first and last name, I would say, because what I said was I don't have a last name, and I usually don't, but I did, and that just triggered their system. Anyway, I would say, my name is Sharon. The name is Sharon Schloss, or the name on the account is Sharon Schloss. That's the registered name. So just a little word of advice. Sometimes when you say I don't have a last name to a representative, your whole PayPal account gets shut down until you clear it all up, which I did, but it was an ordeal. So now when you go to our site and buy Orgonite from us, you'll see Gabriel Lazar Cohen, the other business entity that Gabriel operates, will come up on your receipt.
Or it could go back to your business entity again. But the point is, yeah, one of the two. The thing is, yeah, it'll just be a time waste if you get some representative who doesn't understand, and then, yeah, if that employee has permission to shut down your account for no reason, then
it took a couple days to get it back.
It's like Google, where sometimes the security, it's too much security, like to a fault.
Yeah. So the point here is we want to actually migrate away from e-commerce. PayPal is evil. They're all evil. I think that the way to go with this stuff, until the currency's gone completely, because we are going that way. I mean, there will be a cashless society coming up, I think. And I think the ultimate demise of the dollar will be the cashless society. Because if we have little faith right now in a piece of paper, how much faith could we possibly have in something you can't even hold in your hand? It's even more intangible than the intangible asset of the dollar in paper. So this is all going away. We're probably going to be migrating off of e-commerce anyway. One of the things that I think is good for now is doing things off the radar as much as possible. Like, if you want to buy something, direct trades, barters, money orders, that kind of stuff that's sort of off the record, and cash while we still have it. So these are all kind of the things we have to do. And I think I just pressed something on my camera. Let's see, are we still recording? I'm recording you.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I'm not good at this camera car. I'm not one of these people with a cell phone doing this stuff. I'm actually using an old camera to do this.
Which is another thing you can do is to, instead of using your cell phone, sorry, I gotta change lanes here. Instead of using your cell phone for an alarm clock, use an alarm clock for that, an actual one.
Less EMF when you sleep.
That's just one little thing you can do, but the more we can do these things, the sooner that we can start living in a better world. And like I just said, that world will appear by default once we reject the false world. But we have to do it, we have to go all the way with it, and we have to do it not just in here, but in here too.
And breaking the AI symbiosis too. We have to do that. We have to cut that tie. One of the other crazy ordeals we went through recently, there's been so many ordeals, we just moved. So this whole month we've been moving and working, and now we're also doing ranch work, which is our barter for living, which is great because we're learning how to work on the land and take care of animals, which is important because that's where the new world is going. And we already knew we needed to do this before the stuff started going down like it is now, and it just kind of all came together for us. So it's housing security, and it's a great thing to do. And if you already have a place, especially if you bought a place outright, I would just hold on to it. Right now, security is what we really need in our housing. But one of the things that was occupying my time was being without a landline phone for almost 2 weeks because there was so much mind control going on in the AI at AT&T that they just kept stopping it from happening, to the point where they had a guy set it up wrong so we couldn't have service, and then flake out the next week. I had to wait a week for an appointment because of COVID.
And lie about it.
Yeah, and he did. And you were there. I'm so bad with the camera. I just put my finger in front of the lens.
I don't even want to dignify the story.
Hey, we're running out of battery.
Okay, so we should wrap it up then.
Okay, so anyway, Gabe, you want to wrap it up?
Why don't you do the honors, because I'm going 83 without even trying. So
yeah, I know. It's a fast part of the road here. Okay, so everybody, live long and prosper. Take care of yourself. Drop out of it. Just drop out. Get off the grid, get off the matrix, get off the dollar. Do whatever you got to do because it's all coming down now.
And come to thekembo.com.
Yes, and our website's thekembo.com. Thank you. We will see you again soon.